Hey guys, Joe from American Trucks, and today we're going to be working with the Fox 2.0 Performance Series rear IFP shock, fitting all stock ride height up to a 1-inch lifted 07 to 18 Silverado or Sierra 1500. Something like this is going to be the perfect beginner mod for any Silverado owner out there looking for just a little more off-road performance out of their otherwise stock suspension. So what do we have here with the Fox 2.0 Performance? Let's start with the body of the shock. It's going to be made out of a 6061 T6 aircraft grade aluminum. That's going to be great for ventilating heat. If you're putting this through its paces, that friction is going to generate heat, which is exactly the opposite of what you want. That's going to create shock fade. That aluminum is going to disperse that as fast as possible and help these stand up to that abuse. As far as the shaft goes, that's a 5/8 inch chrome steel alloy. Definitely what you want in durability. That's going to be able to take some abuse as well. Now, this is designed as what's called an IFP shock. Now, that stands for Internal Floating Piston. And what that does for you is, once this compresses, that fluid inside is going to be pushed to the opposite side of the shock. That IFP is going to keep pressure on that used fluid, making sure it doesn't cavitize, which is basically little air bubbles. And we all know air compresses easier than hydraulic fluid does. And that is what's going to be what causes your shock fade. That IFP is going to help resist that as well. On top of all of this, we do have something you can't really see on there, a clear anodized finish. That's going to be great just as a layer of corrosion resistance. Like I said earlier, this is only going to fit stock ride height or up to a 1-inch lifted Silverado or Sierra. So even if you don't have any other modifications to your truck, this is going to be a great upgrade. If you bought a 1-inch lift and it didn't come with any shocks, this is going to be a perfect solution for you as well. Now, one of the biggest things contributing to ride quality with the Fox Performance here is going to be the fact that it is a nitrogen charged shock. Now, what that means is this is going to ride just a little bit stiffer, but the trade-off here does come in performance. That nitrogen charge is going to help resist cavitation and therefore fade at the cost of a little bit of ride quality. Now, that's not to say that this is going to be an undaily drivable solution for you. It definitely still is. The trade-off is small here, but don't be surprised when these do ride a little bit stiffer, but they are going to perform better off-road for sure. Install for these is going to be extremely easy, definitely a 1 out of 3 wrenches on our difficulty meter. Should take you no longer than an hour to do both sides. And without any further ado, let me show you what tools you'll need and how it's done. Tools required for this install are going to be an impact or ratchet, 21mm socket, 3/16 inch wrench, pry bar, a dead blow, and if your truck is rusty like ours is, a pair of safety goggles is definitely recommended. So the first thing we're gonna do here is focus on this lower shock mount. This is gonna be a 21mm bolt and a 21mm nut. If you don't have that, you can use the 13/16 inch wrench. We're gonna remove that. Now, I knew that amount of dust was gonna come out of there, so probably a good idea to have some safety glasses on hand before you do that. Now that guy is in there pretty good, so I'm gonna use a dead blow, give it a couple taps, and then I'm gonna use the pry bar, hit the bottom of that bolt head. And I'm just gonna work that out with the pry bar. I'm gonna use the threads on the bolt itself, sort of unspin it, and work that bolt completely out. Now for the upper mount, all we're going to do is take our 21mm socket, way in there, and remove this bolt. And with that out, the shock should fall right off the truck. So with our factory shock off the truck, I figured now would be the perfect time to put it on the table next to our new Fox shock and point out some of the key differences here. Now, the biggest difference I did talk about a little bit earlier is not going to be visible. It's going to be inside the shocks. And that's going to be our new Fox is a nitrogen charged shock. And again, what that means is this is going to ride just a hair stiffer, but it's going to be a lot more resistant to cavitation and therefore heat, and it's not going to fade out as easily as this factory one would. Cavitation is basically just bubbles in the fluid in there, and bubbles compress a little bit easier than hydraulic fluid would, obviously, so that nitrogen charge is going to resist that and basically stand up to repeated abuse a lot longer than this factory shock would. On top of that, that aluminum body is going to be great for venting out that heat, and that alloy steel shaft is going to be awesome for durability, so you could put it through that torture test and have this stand up to the abuse. Other than that, again, this is a clear anodized finish, so it's going to stand up to the elements a little bit better than our factory shock would. So without any further ado, we're gonna take this back to our truck. We're also going to need the hardware we just removed, and we're gonna put this in the same way we took this one out. We're gonna start this install at the top. I'm gonna put the shaft end up there, then I'm gonna take the bolt I just removed and thread that through just by hand for now. I'm gonna get the bottom started, that way this can sort of rotate while we're doing that. Now at the bottom, if I swing this in, you can see we're just about ½ an inch off. So I have the pole jack underneath the truck here to bring up the rear axle just a hair. If you're working on the ground, make sure the suspension is unloaded, but you could do the same thing with like a floor jack, something like that. That looks pretty close to me. Now we're gonna hop back to the top, tighten that down, and then do the same thing for the bottom. And that is gonna do it for my review and install of the Fox 2.0 Performance Series rear IFP shock for stock ride height up to a 1-inch lifted 07 to 18 Silverado or Sierra 1500. Thanks for watching. I'm Joe. Make sure you subscribe for more videos like this and all things Chevy and GMC.